Hello, and welcome to this episode of More Influence and Impact. And today we are going to be talking about JV partnerships. Building successful JV partnerships can help you generate a continuous stream of right fit, warm leads for your business. And all the time, I'm talking to entrepreneurs who are always looking for more leads, and not just more leads, but qualified leads, eligible leads that are a good fit for their products and services. And so I brought on an expert who does this with people's businesses. He has a whole brand built around JV partnerships. And I'd like to introduce you to Danny Bermant. Hello, Danny.
Hi, Celia. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. And I'm just going to quick introduce you to our listeners and viewers if they've never met you before. Danny is a networking enthusiast and partnership pro. He is the former director of partnerships for Miracy, where he helped countless coaches and consultants attract their dream clients through joint ventures. He's got over 300 JV partners and a massive network of 4,000 contacts. He loves connecting businesses and nonprofits for fruitful collaborations. Awesome. Awesome, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I'm pretty sure that probably one of your partners introduced us, Bonita. I think she introduced us.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're always getting new introductions from people just because of the nature of your work.
Yeah, I think in fact, the way joint ventures should work is that it becomes just a natural part of your, it becomes a natural part of the whole process of working with a client. Even if you don't work in JVs as I do, part of your process of working with a client is that you'll meet periodically with a client and you'll talk to them about who they're working with, what projects they're involved on, where they, what conferences they've been to, where they're meeting people. And, you say to people, I'm actually working in this sector. I'm working with these clients. I'd love introductions to this person or that person. And it just becomes part of your everyday interaction. And people get used to that.
So you just kind of build a culture around your business to always be communicating that way.
Absolutely. And I think a really key mistake that people fail to that people make is they don't ask for help. Right? If you work with a client and they've had a really positive experience with you, you should actually say to them, I've really enjoyed working together. I work with a lot of people like yourselves, and this is what I do. And I'd love to know maybe who else you're working with who'd be a good introduction to me. And if you don't plant the seed, people don't actually, if you're just going to say to people, if you're just hoping, if you work with a client and you're just waiting for them to introduce you to somebody, you're going to be waiting a long time. You actually have to encourage that process to happen. And people actually respect you and like you for asking for help. It's actually human nature to help other people.
Yeah, I was actually just listening to a book an audiobook about that, about people want to give their advice and help and be of service to others. So that makes sense.
Yeah. I had a guest on my podcast, somebody called Heather Pierce Campbell, who is who's a lawyer. And when she graduated from law school, she set up her own firm from day one. She didn't work in a firm, but then set up her own practice. But the way she built her practice is that she actually went, she actually spoke to local law firms, saw firms that featured in the news, and actually just reached out to them and said to them, listen, I saw these are the cases you work on. I'm setting up a firm. I'd love to understand more about the cases you're working on. Do you have like half an hour to meet up, or do you want to meet up for a coffee? Every single firm she approached said yes. Every single firm were happy to meet with her. And so, you've got this kind of gold mine of people who want to help you if only you actually reach out and ask for help.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your business at Captain JV and what all you do, your clients that you serve. And then I know you do like monthly webinars, you have programs. Tell us about your business and what you do.
So I help coaches and consultants to attract their ideal clients through joint venture partnerships. The businesses that come to me really are attracted to joint ventures for a number of reasons. The first thing is that they don't want to. They don't necessarily have the means, and they don't necessarily want to invest in advertising or complicated kind of funnels to get the clients. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that they want to work with people who are warm, who are pre-sold, who want to speak to them, and that again is a feature of joint ventures. You're not unlike advertising. The people coming to you, they've already been recommended, so it's a much easier conversation. But the third thing is that it's actually a much easier way to work. We tend to, when we look for clients, we tend to look for the most complicated, convoluted ways to get in front of businesses. Like, God forbid you're going to actually go and talk to people who can help you. So, and actually, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun working, having people who come to you because clients you work with or your network that you work with have referred people to you. Why would you not? Why would you pass up such an easy way to get in front of clients? So that's what I help businesses to do. I have a done with you program, which is a 90-day coaching program called 6 JV Partners in 90 Days, where I work with clients over 90 days to help them to identify 6 perfect fit partners who have a match with their audience, who are committed to promoting them. And then I also have a done for you program where I actually work with clients to actually manage their JV process, to help them meet the right partners and actually have a really successful relationship with them. Because the way, there are a lot of business owners believe in joint ventures. They think, great, this is something that will work for my business, but it very often it's ad hoc. They'll meet a client recommends them. They'll do a one-off partnership with a client. They'll maybe do a co-hosted event that yields results. But a lot of what businesses do with JVs is often, it's not repeated. It's something that's very ad hoc. So to make it work, it needs to be a process. It needs to be repeatable. It needs to be reliable. So that's really what I do. It's ensuring that your joint ventures basically bring leads regularly to your door, and it's not kind of in dribs and drabs.
Yeah, because then it becomes more, like you said, repeatable and reliable.
Yeah.
And so how did you get into this work of doing JV partnerships?
So I've always I've done joint ventures in various formats over the years, and going back many years, I do things like co-hosted events where you'd get different businesses who at a venue who'd basically present on different topics, and we cross-fertilize. We'd all bring audiences in, or we'd have a co-hosted webinar where I'd co-present with an expert. But actually, what really made me pivot into joint ventures to the extent that I do now was actually the pandemic. I was, prior to 2020, I was focused mainly on basically done for you marketing. For clients, and the isolation of the pandemic actually made me realize that what I was really interested in is marketing that revolves around people and relationships. The actual complete absence of being able to build relationships in person made that very clear to me. So I focused much more on joint ventures as we went into the pandemic, and the fact that everybody was online and everybody suddenly realized, being in this isolation where you can't meet people physically, there's actually a lot of opportunities online to connect with people, and to use tools like Zoom to actually create like co-hosted webinars, live events, and summits, and so on. And what's also very clear to me is that a lot of businesses are unaware of what joint ventures, of the opportunities, because when a lot of coaches and consultants, for example, think of joint ventures, they think of situations where 2 businesses promote each other, right? In terms of, you're running a live event, I will tell my email audience about it, and maybe I'll have the same type of format, and you'll promote to your audience. Actually, joint ventures can take all sorts of formats. It can be, for example, something where you refer clients to each other. It could be an event that you co-host. It could be that you're running a coaching program and you bring your JV partner in to teach on your program. And so you're adding lots of value to your clients, and they're potentially getting clients. It could be that you host each other on a podcast. It could be that you are basically joining forces in terms of sharing knowledge of your marketing successes and sort of coaching each other. So it's just realizing that a joint venture is so much more than dollars and cents. It's also the fact that you've got a support network behind your business. You're not being an entrepreneur is very lonely. You've actually got a network of people who can support you in all sorts of different ways. And again, I think that was a lesson I learned. Pre-pandemic, I'd very often be on my own all the time, sitting behind a computer, not talking to anybody. And joint ventures mean, and very often that's the case when you're heading a business. You're very lonely. But with a JV support network, you no longer have that isolation.
Yeah. And that's what so many people are, they're looking for, is those connections and the community. And one thing I want to go back to is something that you said earlier about the difference between JVs and JV partnerships versus like the paid traffic and the paid advertising, because I have clients that have both warm funnels, right? They have funnels, kind of viral content going, and they've got leads coming in that way. And then I have other clients that will run cold traffic funnels. And I find definitely that the warmer leads, you have a much higher conversion rate. And then you have people that are, they're what I would call the connectors, and they do everything organically. They don't really run paid traffic, paid media, and they just really rely on like networking and getting out there, making connections. And I think that works, but if you don't have a strategy behind it, it can't be repeatable, right, and reliable.
Yeah. Pre-pandemic, what I saw was actually a lot of coaches and consultants networking, but very wasteful. Going to one event after another, or going to one online event after another, and picking up a connection here, a connection there, and you're missing a trick, because with that kind of networking, you're meeting people one at a time. Whereas if you can actually start building a partnership, it means that it's one to many, right? If your partner is hosting a meeting, they're hosting a group, right? You've got exposure to multiple people at once. And I think you need to be a lot smarter, right? You need to be a lot smarter when you're networking to think about that. It's also, you need to be a lot smarter when you are partnering with other businesses, or you're looking for people you can to work with. It's thinking about people if you're partnering with somebody, is this somebody who's actually got an audience, right? Do they have an offer?
Yeah.
Because that's obviously a much easier opportunity than someone where you're just meeting them, and that's it. And I think the way you have to think about joint venture opportunities is that you are not selling to your network. You're selling through your network, right? You're not just meeting people who potentially could work with you. You're thinking about, who are the people in my network who are connected to larger groups of people that I can be working with, right? So you're in a situation that's why I advocate, don't necessarily work with lots and lots of partners. Consolidate your efforts to ideally to six partners in the long run, who you can work really closely with, who who've got a network that's a really good fit for you. They've got a lot of connections, and they have the ability to bring you large numbers of people, right? Rather than reaching out to a large number of people who can bring in a connection here and a connection there.
Yes, great points. And so with those partners, do you suggest, should it always be reciprocal? Like, I'm going to do the same thing for you that you're going to do for me? Or does it just depend on the strength of the network or the strength of the person in terms of how you set that up?
So different partners are looking for different things. You actually could be in a situation where you decide to partner with an organization that have not necessarily done partnerships before. They have an audience, and their audience need what you are offering. So if you're approaching them and saying, "Listen, I'd love to work collaboratively with you. We could co-host some live training together." They may actually, for them, the reciprocation is you giving their audience what you offer. So so I think consider that also. Reciprocation, what a reciprocation means can vary. So I think a lot of people who go into partnerships, the mistake they make is they kind of look at it as a kind of quid pro quo type of arrangement. I sent you, I promoted your summit. I sent this number of opt-ins to the summit. Now I'm running something. Can you do the same for me? It's not always like that. Sometimes it's a case of you help somebody to promote their summit. They may want to support you in another way. It may be that they're referring people to you, right? They may be referring you to clients. They may be referring you to JV partners, and also the benefit you get from JV partners is sometimes indirect. So sometimes you'll be working with somebody, they rave about what you've done for them, and then they work with other people who then hear about you, want to come back to you. So sometimes it's a kind of a boomerang effect, but the boomerang will come from a different direction. And I think when you go into a joint venture partnership, you have to get away from this mentality of, I'm actually just doing your kind of cynically, I'm just doing this because I know you're going to give me something back. No, I'm doing this because your starting point for a partnership is I'm going to support you because this is something my audience could really benefit from. And yes, if you work with the right people, they will want to support you too. And I think about pretty much every meeting I've had, when I've gone into a meeting and I've offered to support people, they will almost always then say, look, and what can I do to support you? But you don't have to ask for it. It just comes naturally in the relationship.
It does. I've even found with doing this show that people will be like, well, how can I help you? How can I support you? And it just naturally comes up.
Yeah. People like, there is a spirit of cooperation, and actually that's what a lot of particularly heart-centered entrepreneurs, they like that. They don't like business that is really all about, they sometimes feel that with business development, with marketing, it's about being manipulative. It's about being slightly indirect and not completely honest. And it's almost you trying to be somebody you're not, being a bit fake. What people like about partnerships is that they feel the whole process is a lot more. It's just more of a spirit of cooperation, and no one is trying to put on an act. And so I think it fits in with a lot of the people who I do joint ventures with. It fits in with their values of how they work together.
Yes. So I would love to know, what are some of the strategies that you use to identify effective JV partners for your clients, especially on the done for you and done with you?
Yeah. So the first thing with is spending enough time doing due diligence on the people you're working with. You have to be very clear, firstly, with your own business, with the clients I'm working with. What does your target audience look like? Not just in terms of what they buy, but what are their aspirations professionally, personally, and what are their values? What matters to them? What does success mean to them? And I think the more you understand about your audience, the more likely you are to have a successful relationship. So it means when I'm seeking out partners, I'm also looking really spending enough time. A lot of people go to a partner, they spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes in a meeting, and it's not enough time. It's I will spend 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes really, really understanding, like, what is your audience? What are they looking to achieve? I want to understand your program, right? Where are you taking people to? What's the result you're looking to get to people? What's the investment? You need to understand, right? Is there not just an audience match in terms of where these people are? If you're working with newbies who are maybe just been in business for 6 months, and then the person you're looking to partner with, they're working with people who've been in business for 2 years, it's not going to work.
Right.
So just slow down before rushing into an agreement. Actually take the time to really research the partner. Is this going to actually work? And I think that's really where often partnerships kind of don't get the results you're looking, because in the first place, you just haven't taken the time to carry out the research that you needed to do. I think the other thing to do is the other thing that I've sort of consciously done is when I'm seeking out partners, it's seeking out people who have got some track record, they've got some results to speak of, and so you can see you've got a record of who they've worked with, right? Are the people they've worked with similar to my clients, right? Am I seeing results that they're getting which are meaningful? These are all telltale signs that this is going to work. And I think also when you meet someone that you want to work with, it's also understanding Is this someone who I feel comfortable working with? Is the
Mm-hmm.
way they work fit in with the way I work? Is this somebody I like?
Mm-hmm.
Actually liking the person and gelling with them actually is quite a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
Especially if you want to do something more intimate with them, like have a co-hosted event.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be kind of good chemistry between you.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And one thing I've seen too is like you were talking about the audience fit. I've met people, especially business owners, entrepreneurs in the personal development space, where they will try to partner with someone to, help with their event or help with their launch,
Mm.
only to find out that this other business owner isn't at the level of business that they are in terms of maybe not having online marketing set up.
Yeah.
They don't have any organization. And so they keep trying to, do these promotional opportunities or partnerships with people that just aren't at the same level of,
Yeah.
business acumen as they are. And they don't really even know how to vet or even think about that. That's somebody I connected with recently who's, had that trouble, and they have a successful business, but, the partnership side just hasn't become, reliable, partially because of that.
Yeah, it's a little bit like matchmaking, right?
Mhm.
If you're going to set up a friend on a date, you would actually take the time to really get to know this person,
Right.
right? And like, what are they? What matters to them? What do they want from their life, right? What are their values, and so on, right? And you're really
Mhm.
thinking, is this someone who's really going to be a fit for my friend? You have to really invest
Mhm.
in getting to know partners.
Yeah.
And it's like peeling away layers of onion skin. You just as you get as you ask more probing questions, you get to discover, you know, really vital pieces of information that
Mhm.
really will tell you is if this is going to work or not.
Mhm.
And it's also a powerful way to build a relationship because partners are not used to being asked lots of questions, and
Mhm.
they really respect you for for taking the time to really you know have that level of inquisition. I don't know if that's the right word,
Mhm.
but but just being sufficiently inquisitive. And also, at the end of the day, someone is spending time. You are, if you're partnering with somebody, you're a stakeholder in their business, right?
Mhm.
Right. Take the time to actually take an interest in them,
Mhm.
I can see when people are sincere and
Yeah,
when they're not sincere.
totally.
And right, and when someone asks kind of probing questions, and then that they follow up by something related to that, right, this is someone who's serious. This is
Mhm.
someone who is going to really stay the course.
Yeah, they're really listening and hearing me and,
Mm,
seeking to understand.
yeah, yeah,
And it's funny because, some of the things that we're talking about, and this comes up for me a lot,
mhm,
it's, sometimes it's just things seem so obvious, right?
yeah,
Like listening and really, doing your due diligence to get to know someone. And like what you said earlier around the online marketing thing where people are, there's kind of like a veil and half
mm.
truths and things like that. And I just wonder what your take is. Like, do you feel like that do you see that people kind of have to unlearn marketing tactics to be more authentic in their connections and with their partnerships? Or do you find that people just naturally, like, they either naturally do it or they naturally don't? Like, what do you see?
Unfortunately, I think a lot of marketing. I think there's a lot of marketing tactics that people have to unlearn. I think
Uh-huh.
so much of what is taught in marketing is about being fake and about being inauthentic
Yeah.
and trying to be a version of yourself that you're not.
Yeah.
And so you're having to teach people to just be yourself.
Yeah.
I found, I mean, by way of example, I found I was much more successful at selling when I stopped trying to sell.
Mhm.
It stopped becoming a sales conversation, and it just became a discussion about, I want to understand what you're struggling with, what you'd like to achieve. I'll tell you if I can help you, and then we can agree. We can discuss whether we're a fit for each other. And if we're
Mhm.
not for, and if we're not a fit for each other, that's fine. And that
Mhm.
works so beautifully, right? It's because it's a conversation where both parties are listening to each other,
Yeah.
and neither side feels that they're being sold to, or they're being taken through some kind of indoctrination or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I'm
Yeah,
right with you. And I've studied pretty much, I wouldn't say every sales training, but I would say in the coaching space, I've studied all of the different sales scripts and the different strategies and tactics. And ultimately, I've been spending the last several months building my own based on how I like to show up, and really a framework, not even like a script, question
yeah.
by question, but just a framework, and then really like aligning that with how my ideal clients really shine in those conversations. And I think that that's where, like, what you're talking about, the authenticity and the originality and just being you and being real can take us so much further than we really give ourselves credit for. And I think that it's up to us to really educate people on that. I know that's something I'm really passionate about, is like, be yourself and be real and don't be weird, and you're going to get so much better results because of it.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. I think somebody who I really, really have a lot of respect for is somebody called Ted Hargrave,
Okay.
his whole business is called Marketing for Hippies,
Okay.
and
Marketing for
his
hippies.
yeah, Marketing for Hippies, because his tribe are hippies. They're people who are super cynical about marketing. They're super cynical about manipulation. And but what he teaches them is that actually marketing does not have to be any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, it's simply a process of taking people on a journey,
Yeah.
where you are essentially, you're putting your hand out, helping them to to make a decision on something that they're struggling with. What I
Mm-hmm.
love is, right, when he is promoting joint venture partners, on his emails he actually says, right, here is the affiliate link. Right. And if you feel really uncomfortable, here's just a regular link which you can click on, and I won't get any commission and I don't mind, just whatever makes me feel more comfortable. So people do not feel like he's just promoting it because he's getting the affiliate commission.
Yeah.
They feel that he's promoting it because he actually believes in it.
Yeah.
And that is what makes a really good JV partnership. Yeah. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine to reward people, but don't and it's fine to have a reciprocation, but don't let that be the only driver. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
It starts off with you believing in the person and you wanting to
Mm-hmm.
work with them. And if it's the right partnership, that becomes a mutual, just like two people in a relationship, it becomes a mutual appreciation of what both have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
That is where
Mm-hmm.
you want to get to.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
word that keeps coming up in the back of my mind is like getting away from being transactional, where it,
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. JVs is sold as, and networking for that matter. A lot of networking and by extension joint ventures are sold as, this is not transactional. This is about This is about collaboration. But unfortunately, in both the world of networking and the world of JVs, I differentiate the two, because JVs is all, it's just networking is generally about meeting lots of people that you can help each other. Joint venture is a much more structured
mhm,
agreement between two parties. But in both cases, in all too often, it becomes a transactional, arrangement. How many of us have been to networking meetings where you feel pressure, right? I've got to do this, right? I've got to attend this meeting and I've got to deliver and stuff. It becomes it just drives the sincerity and
mhm,
the kind of actual human, just the natural flow of things. It completely gets destroyed by the fact that there is some expectation of some kind of deal, if you like. You have to do
mhm,
this for me and I will do this for you. That is not
mhm.
a joint venture.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Yeah, and some of those networking groups that they run things like that, a lot of my people are not a fan.
Right, but
Um,
JVs, by the same extension, that also often that is where it goes very wrong.
yes, yes, just too much of that tit for tat type
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah. And to be fair, there are partners where sometimes you feel, hold on a second, I've made a lot of effort for this person, but they've not shown up for me. But sometimes the reason that happens is because there hasn't been a clear agreement put in place.
Mhm,
Where
mhm,
you never really kind of structured it and made it clear about what are we doing together, what are the expectations. There was no proper follow up.
mhm,
And if you've taken the time at the beginning to really get to know each other properly, you're not going to get into those sorts of relationships where you put yourself out for somebody and they don't reciprocate.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's the ultimate, right? When people get to that level. So we're coming up on time here. And so are there any like final thoughts that you want to share, Danny, that maybe we didn't touch on during our conversation? This has been really enlightening and candid. I've really enjoyed it.
I think my main takeaway from our conversation is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Okay.
People would much rather spend a lot of money and a lot of effort on building a complicated funnel.
Yeah.
But actually thinking about, who are the people you work closely with and have worked successfully with, either their clients or they might be people you network with. People love helping other people, right? But you have to ask, or you're not going to get noticed.
Yes. So everyone take that to heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. And to connect with you, I think we're inviting people. You offer a monthly webinar at your website, captainjv.co.
Yeah,
Okay.
captainjv.co. The next event will be at the end of February.
Okay.
So if you register, you'll get a confirmation email with details of that.
Okay. And on those webinars, you dive deeper into some of the things we discussed today and the value of JV partner.
I dive deeper into basically how you need to structure the way you approach JVs, so it works for
Okay.
you.
Great. I'm sure some of our listeners and viewers will be itching for that. So, I'll have that in the show notes for you so you can click that link. And then we also have your social profiles. They can find you on LinkedIn. And where else do you hang out online besides LinkedIn?
I primarily LinkedIn or on my email list.
Okay.
Those are the best places to find me.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much, Danny. And thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. This is More Influence and Impact with Celia, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you for having me on the show.